Imagine me just sitting there twiddling around with this thing, which I'll show you in a minute. But there we go. So that's where you start getting that melody. I must have stumbled. I must have just tweaked the sequencer a little bit to get those notes.
This video is being sponsored by GPU Audio, creators of the pioneering technology that lets you use your graphics card for processing audio. More from me in a bit. So now we've moved into the LA connection, and James, you are in your studio. We're exploring Big Hammer, and you were talking about the Metropolis modular synth that you used and the Rubicon oscillator. Are you able to illustrate those now?
Yes. The original session for the actual modular jam looks roughly like this. Okay, this will give you an idea about how long it takes to get something usable out of this thing. Well, especially at this point of me learning how to use it. Oh. So mostly chaotic ear distress. Just until I arrive at something. I mean, this has gone on for already, let's see, 4 minutes. So
you just carry on doing that, and then you go back to it and start chopping it all up and thinking, I'm going to put some order.
No, I haven't arrived at it yet in this jam.
Yeah.
Imagine me just sitting there twiddling around with this thing, which I'll show you in a minute. But there we go. So that's where you start getting that melody. I must have stumbled. I must have just tweaked the sequencer a little bit to get those notes. And then the oscillator, you can hear the actual sound of it doesn't sound. So in your mind, if you can separate the sound from the way it's being sequenced. So the sequencer is just sending it note values, but the sound itself is coming from the oscillator. And so I'm changing, eventually we'll probably change, in this jam, I'll probably change the sound to sound like the one that we end up hearing on the track. There we go, we're getting closer. There we go. So it's like eventually I got there, but I didn't know where I was going, obviously. I mean, I'd never written this before or heard it. And a modular synth is kind of like, it's a bit like modern art in a way. It's kind of like, or I don't know, there's more of a sense of curating something coming in rather than actually composing like you would the piano or whatever. So right, and then now that's the sound that made it to the record. And then later on, this jam becomes and I'm just there, just like fucking around with it.
As promised, more from me on GPU Audio, whose game-changing technology, officially supported by NVIDIA, AMD and Apple, is leading the way to ultra-low latency, parallel processing and live machine learning in the world of audio processing. They have partnered with VSL, Mantra and many more developers to bring this incredible power to the plugins you already love and those of the future, including their own plugin suite, coming soon on all platforms. In the meantime, head over to gpu.audio/take notes to try their free betas, get a pack of 50 custom-made impulse responses and over 150 free drum samples now. Links in the description below. It's great though. I mean,
these are all the parts. These are all the parts that I later went into the track or into the jam and just chopped these bits out because they felt like the best parts, right? So then you end up with, that's the opening, and then was a section. I added a beat behind it.
I mean, that beat has an earthquaking resonance.
Yeah. Well, it's an 808 that's just very low. What note is that? Let me see. Yeah, so I think it's a low C.
Right.
So it's working, on a big sound system, you'll hear all the bass of that, but on a lot of systems you wouldn't. I mean, the best, if you really want to like rumble like a club setting, G is like a nice, what I worked out pretty early in the game is like G is a pretty effective note. A starts getting further up into the chest. B flat, B, C starts to really rattle the chest, the rib cage. D, kind of similar. And then above that, you start to lose the kind of bass frequencies and it starts to turn into melody. But C, right, which is the C below that G I was talking about, is extremely low. You're going to it's kind of infra bass territory where you're going to need, decent subs to kind of replicate what that's doing. So like Berghain, you're going to get, I think they've got infra bass, got like sub 20 hertz subwoofers and stuff. But anyway, it creates the effect, even if you don't have speakers that can replicate all of the frequencies of that bass line. It creates a feeling of that bass frequency, if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Without the physical side of it, you get the sense it's really low, basically. Yeah. It's really low and it's kind of vibrating a lot. So then Rob actually added these, which is me singing, put through various effects from him. And then we go back to the beat. And then it turns into that side of the jam here. So all of that stuff I did previous to putting the Ragga Twins sample on this. And then this is from a sample from a Groove Masters CD from 2000 and something. Right. And I've basically just that's just, simple EQ sweep. I don't really tend to use filters. I just use EQs and automate them.
We now popular more than the one Jerry Springer just a sound with ice. Make a boy shiver, make a punk freeze. All in a summer money we a contest and I know he can deliver. If you run him out, we make big hammer. In a bucket all, we now surrender. When a fire, when a boy can you know say in a matter. Yeah, we now.
So this vocal just repeats. It doesn't sound like it really because there's so many lyrics in it. You don't really sort of notice that it's doing that.
Yeah.
But I just didn't feel like it needed much more. It's like dance music's kind of all about repetition, really. Anyway. So then some variations in the vocal. And then you just get this vocal.
You see? So, you're crazy.
So these are just ad-libs from the original from the end of the original a cappella. And they're just kind of placed through to keep it going, really, keep the momentum going. And then this is just the same a cappella, but transposed 12 semitones up in the Logic kind of. I just used the Logic transposition. I didn't use like a plugin or anything, and that gives it a different type of sound. I mean, the way you pitch, it's like you can pitch things up in lots of different ways, but the way you pitch something, which algorithm you use determines what it feels like, really. So how that translates to the vibe it creates is important to me. And then, yeah, that's pretty much the tune, really. Added some drums at here as well. This is all modular drums. And then just editing them to create some kind of interesting patterns. But it's not a very it's not a very complicated tune, and honestly, I think a lot of the fun of it comes in the simplicity, but the structure of it is insane.